Hi guys, I thought I'd show you some of Patrick Ta's latest bronzers and blushes today, and in particular I wanted to talk about bronzer placement and blush placement and highlighter as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, keep on watching and please don't forget to follow or subscribe depending where you're watching. Okay, let's get started. I have moisturized my face, then I have also put on some of the ultraviolet sunscreen, and this is SPF of 50. Everything I use is in the description, so if you want to know a particular product, just have a look at the screen. Everything I use will come down, including the shades used. I'm actually just going to prime today with some MAC Fix Plus. That's a really light primer, also a setting spray, but you can also use it to prime. Especially good if you wanted to get a little bit more moisture back into your routine or into your skin. I'm going to use my Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Weightless foundation today. I'm going to mix it up a little bit and I'm going to put in some Tan Luxe drops. So I have about 2.5 pumps of foundation and about 2.5 pumps of the Tan Luxe drops as well. This is a full coverage foundation. The Tan Luxe drops will sheer the foundation out as well, which is not such a bad thing because I'm going for a lighter look. I'm just going to mix that on the back of my hand. It doesn't have to be fantastically mixed, but pretty well mixed is good. This is a really nice combination, and I actually got the wrong shade in this foundation. I got in 012 and it is a little bit too fair. So by warming it up with some of these drops, it actually ends up being a really good shade for my skin. And I will mix it all together and blend it in. Foundation is on. You can see that Tan Luxe has just given me a really nice glow. Let's start with color correction. So this is my Charlotte Tilbury color corrector, and this is in the shade 1 Fair, so it's quite an apricot-y type color. I'm just going to take that, and where I'm going to put it is where I need the color correcting, which for me is on the inside of my eye, and I'm just tapping that on, and then just here, and then on the outer corner. So I'm not going to put it all the way under my eye because I don't need it all the way under my eye. And the less product you use under your eyes, the better it's gonna look. This is all about layering as well, so we're doing small amounts at a time. Then I'm just gonna rub that in with my finger because that's, for me, a really quick way to do it. And that's just going to cancel out any of that blue color. Okay, I like to do my bronzer before my concealer because I feel like if I do my concealer first, then I sort of don't get a real idea of how much or how little I actually really do need. And I tend to use less if I do my bronzer and my blush first. So that's what I'm going to do. I am going to use the new Patrick Ta. This is in the color She's Sculpted. This is the medium. Bronzer contour, similar things, but not quite. If you're going to contour, what you're going to do is you're going to get a brush. What you're doing is you're creating shapes. So you're going to start probably at the top where your ear is beginning here, and you're just going to take that just under your cheekbone. And for me, I am just going to wrap it around a tiny bit. So I'm almost making like a tiny U here, but I'm not taking it all the way down here because that's going to pull my face down. I want to have a lifted look, so I'm only taking it just down, probably in line with where my nose ends, and then I'm just pulling it up a little bit, and that's where you want to put your contour. So if you have a really rounded face, then you probably don't want to take your contour around like I do, like this. You could keep that line straight because you can afford to have your face sort of look more narrow if you do have a rounded face. That's where I place it. Now, obviously, everyone is different. Then I'm just going to continue to work that in, and I'm working up rather than down. Where my ear starts, I don't really want that bronzer to go past that. So I'm going to work it upwards. And if it comes down onto my cheek, that's totally okay. I don't want it to go sort of past about there though. So from the corner of your eye, if you lay your brush on an angle, you don't really want your bronzer or your blush to go past that point. And then I'm also going to place some along my hairline. Now, if you don't have a lot of room between your eyebrows and your forehead, then obviously you're not going to need as much bronzer. In fact, you may not need any. Depending on how much room you have can depend on how far you bring it down. And I am actually touching my hair when I'm blending this in because I want it to look like it's natural and it's part of my entire skin color. And if I stop right at that hairline, it could look a bit funny. I do like to take a little bit up past my eyebrow, and I'm going to accentuate it here so you can hopefully see. But I like to do that on both sides and then just gently blend it. Again, I'm blending it upwards and into my hairline so it's undetectable. You've also now created a sort of lifted look again. Again, I'm going to use the new Patrick Tar, and this is She's That Girl. Really beautiful colours. So I'm going to use the cream. The reason I do the cream and then the powder is because contour and blush are one of the first things that wears off my face. So if I have a cream under and then a powder on top, I feel like I get a lot longer wear out of it, and the cream sort of melts into the skin and makes it look a lot more natural. So I'm taking my blush now and I'm going to place that above the bronzer, just ever so gently letting them mix together so that you sort of can't tell where the bronzer starts and where the blush begins. But there's got to be a definition, definitely from here, sort of that space there. You don't want to put your blush down there. And again, I'm taking it up high. So I'm taking this upwards to my temple and around, but I'm still making sure I'm keeping it onto my cheekbone. I do apologize about the dog and the cat. I'm just patting that in. I'm not doing this because I don't want to disturb what we have underneath. And then the same thing on the other side. So I'm patting into my product and then I'm tapping just above my bronzer and up, and I'm just slightly going over where my bronzer started on that invisible line, which is my cheekbone. Still working upwards because we do want that difference in color. But if you can get it to a point where you sort of can't see where they both start and when they finish, that's sort of what you're looking for. Do this on it with a dry brush and just keep stippling it in. Don't rub back and forth. Don't have to use a cream if you don't like cream products. You can use a powder. And again, if I use a powder, I still will stipple everything in. I'm not taking this blush down onto the apple of my cheek. I think you got to put blush on the apples of your cheeks. You want your apples of your cheeks to be accentuated when you smile so that you look all healthy. But as I said before, unless you walk around smiling, if you put that here and then you stop smiling, so I'm smiling and then my brush is up here, but then when I stop smiling, my brush is going to come down. And that's a bit of an exaggerated example, but all it's going to do is pull my face down. And the whole thing we're trying to do here is look nice and lifted. You can even take some of this from the edge around where we put that line of bronzer and carry it around. I don't like taking it too far around. If you're gonna take it around, I just like taking it maybe a brush width or something. Not, I mean, you can take it all the way around to here and do like a U shape, except I think on my face, I just prefer just to take it around just enough so it looks a little bit natural, nice and glowy. And depending on your face shape, will depend on whether you want to take it around or whether you want to just leave it. So I'm not really going down onto the apples of the cheeks. I'm pretty much stopping just before they start. Then I'm going to take some of that bronzer again. I'm going to go back into the brush I used and I'm going to go into that cream and I'm going to take the side of my brush, or you could get a smaller brush. I'm going to just pat that down the side of the nose, which I'm sure you've all seen me do before. I'm just doing it very gently. I don't need massive amount of contour on my nose. Just going to create texture. So I'm just doing that. I'm going to take it under my nose and then I'm actually just going to take it a little bit on the side here, just there. You might see some people putting your bronzer across here. The idea of putting it across, a line across there, is to make your nose look smaller, but not everybody has the same nose shape. So what contour might work for you will not work for me. And I think my bronzer across here it just looks a bit funny. So by making the bottom of my nose a little bit darker, it sort of does the same thing. And also just by making the corners a little bit darker, I've achieved the same thing, just in a different way. And from my face shape, it looks better. So not everyone is going to suit a contour with a line across it. Not everyone is going to even want to bring the bronzer all the way down. If you've got a small nose, you might only bring it halfway down. If you've got a wider nose, you may bring it all the way down, but then not do anything on the sides here. It just depends on the shape of your face. So bear that in mind when you're doing your bronzing. Then I'm going to grab the cream and I'm going to do under my jawline. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the back of my ear all the way across on both sides and just work that in. And I'm not putting a lot there. It's only supposed to create a shadow. And then what I like to do is just put a tiny bit here and a tiny bit here. And by doing that, you're bringing your chin forward because shadow goes back and light goes forward. I'm sort of chiseling out my chin a bit more, put a little bit underneath but not on top. And that's all. That is all I'm doing. You could take a little bit down your neck if you wanted to, just to marry all the colours together, your bronzer and everything, but that's all really you need to do. As long as you start behind your ear, because again, you don't want to see where it starts and where it ends. This is the new Tarte Creamy Concealer. Really, really different formula to the Tarte Shape Tape. So if you like the Tarte Shape Tape, but you found that was a bit dry, I would recommend this one because I found the Shape Tape a bit dry as well, but this one is actually really good. I am going to put a dot there, put a dot here. I am going to put one dot on my nose, take some under my nose because I feel like I have a bit of redness there. And then I'm going to take sort of a little bit on my chin and also a tiny bit between my eyebrows. And that is all I'm going to take. If you wanted to use this as a primer for your eyeshadow, all you need is a drop. It goes a long way, especially this concealer. I'm going to start with my chin and I want to whiten that up a little bit to bring it forward from that concealer. Then I'm going to move up to my nose, and rather than highlighting my entire bridge of my nose with an actual highlighter, I prefer to do it with concealer. Between my eyebrows I'm doing because I feel like I have redness there. That's the only reason, not necessarily for highlighting. Under my eyes, I'm just doing this outside corner, and whatever's left on my sponge after I've blended that, I'll bring it through. And then same thing on the inside corner. I'll just work that in just for color consistency. Whatever's left on my sponge, I'll just bring through. Just before I do my powdering, I'm going to do what I always do, which is go back under my eyes with my sponge, make sure no lines have been formed. Same thing on my eyelids. I'm rubbing that concealer and make sure that no tiny little lines or pools of foundation are on there or still sitting there. You'll be surprised how quick that foundation can start to pull. First thing I'm going to do, I always take my powder under my eyes first. I'm going to take this down my T-zone, under my nose, pretty much everywhere. I'm not using a great deal of it. The benefit of putting a little bit of powder on top of your blush and your bronzer is if you use a translucent powder, it's not going to affect the colour. All it's going to do is help not only your makeup stay longer, but it's going to help you get a more seamless, natural looking powder application from any blush, bronzer, contour, highlighter that you put down. And finally, I'm going to go into my eyes and just work that powder in. And I probably will need to still prime my eyes because very rarely does concealer alone stop my foundation from pooling. Bronzing brush again, gently dip in, tap off any excess if you want, and then I'm just going to go back over that and stipple downwards just to intensify that colour. And I'm just keeping it in that one spot. Same thing here. I'm just starting into the hairline and bringing that down. Put back some colour and help keep that cream bronzer in place. Whatever's left on my brush, I'll just put gently down the edges of my nose. I don't like to put a lot of powder down my nose because I find I get a little bit of texture if I do that. Getting a little bit of powder back over where I did my cream. So traditionally contouring is to carve out your face and build shape, and bronzing is to build colour. We're sort of combining the two here. So back over where I did that little line, where I put that cream, just dot those sides of the chin there, and that is about it. Going back into my blush, I am going to go back into the powder. I am going to go over that cream blush so you can see now it's just intensifying what was already there, stippling that in gently, and I'm building up as I go. It's much better to build up slowly than to go in with one big heap of it because it's a lot harder to take it away. If you do get too much on your face, stipple over it with your foundation brush or your sponge. You can try and tone it down a bit that way. I'm just stippling back and forth so that I get a nice even coverage. Really, with these ones, if you're using a product like this, you don't need a lot. These will last a while, they really will. Some people have been taking their blush on the tips of their nose. I sort of can't work out whether I like that or not. I don't know. I like it on other people. I just don't know whether I like it on myself. I'm just going to quickly touch up my eyebrows and then we'll come back and do our highlighter and a quick eye look. This is just my Tarte Pro Glow palette, really cute little palette. I'm just going to go into that and place the smallest amount. I'm tapping that in and I'm starting again in my hairline, and I'm going to bring that down only really to where the first third of my eye is. I'm not taking it any further than that, and I'm not taking it any lower. You get that nice healthy glow. Too much highlighter will accentuate any texture that you have. So if you have texture anywhere, you want to stay away from putting highlighter there, which is why I don't put the highlighter all the way down my nose, because again, like I said earlier, I feel like my nose has texture. If I'm going to put it anywhere, I might just stamp it at the bridge of my nose there, but that would be about it. Sometimes I put it through where I've put my bronzer just to give a little bit more of a glow, I guess. And that placement of the highlighter is above that blush, like you're sitting right on the top of your cheekbone when you're putting that highlighter through. The other place I might put highlighter would be on my chin, again, to bring that forward because we've put the bronzer to put it back, to put that shadow there, and maybe on my Cupid's bow. I think it looks quite nice there too. The only other place would be the inner corner. I think it gives a bit of a glow, makes your eyes pop. And you can also, once you've done your eyeshadow, put it just under the last half of your eyebrows. Sometimes taking it all the way across, although putting the majority at the end, taking it the rest of the way can sometimes actually bring an eye look together really nicely. Sometimes you might want to put a bit here as well. You really don't want heaps because you want it to look like a natural glow. And I also prefer to use a highlighter that doesn't have a lot of glitter in it. That's just me personally. Everyone likes their own different sort of styles and products. A quick eye look, I'm going to use the VIVE eye wands, and I'm just going to use Mahogany, and this is Vanilla. So for the Mahogany, which is a really beautiful colour, I'm just going to take that through the crease, and my eyes are not too creased up from that, so that concealer, so that's good. And I'm just going to get my brush and I'm going to blend that in. Now these blend really beautifully. Colors are so pretty. But what I like about them is they're quick. This Mahogany, I've seen so many people using it and it seems to look good on everybody. It's just one of those colors that it's dark enough and pigmented enough, yet it's not at the same time. Bringing that up like I normally do and out, so I take it just below my brow bone. And I'm working on one eye at a time because these do dry down and they will set. Because once these set, pretty much guaranteed your eye until you take it off. They really are that good. I'm going to take it on my brush and I'm going to take some under my eye and smudge that out. Taking your shadow under your eyelid is actually a really good thing to do if you have any fine lines, because it's a really good way to disguise them. So if you find that you get fine lines under your eyes, try putting some shadow through there. The other thing is the shadow will help set your foundation under your eyes, and the shadow is a different formula to a face powder. That will also help set. Even if the shadow is a beigey colour or a yellowy colour in tone, it'll also help colour correct. So if you've done your whole makeup and under your eyes are still looking like quite high up under your eyes, it's still looking a little bit discoloured, you can put some shadow through there. And then that's going to help with creasing, your discoloration, and it'll pull your whole eye look together for you as well. This is vanilla. I'm going to get something quite small. And I'm just going to take this through onto my inner eyes. I'm working quickly, so I've done 2 at one time, but I don't have a lot of area to cover here. And I don't have a lot of blending that I want to do, so I'm pretty confident I'll get to it in time. I just wanted to make my eyelids lighter, just so they stand out. And you can see there that we've got the highlighter is still there, which helps everything stand out nicely as well. You could use any colours here. If you don't want to use brown or a creamy colour, you could use pink and purple, you could use blue and green, you could use whatever you want to. Mascara, so I'm just really enjoying the Lash Expert by Terry at the moment. Just makes such a difference. I think I've told you guys this before, but I like to do a thin coat to start with, so my inner lashes, I'm going to push with the brush that way. The ones in the middle of my eye, I'm pushing up. The ones on the outer corner, I'm pushing that way. So I'm going to position my eyelashes how I want them to be, very lightly, just to get them in place. And obviously down, you want to do the same thing. The inner lashes are going that way, outer lashes are going that way. And I'm using this just to put them in position, basically, to start with. And then I go back in with the second coat, and the second coat I use for actual coverage. I'm not too worried about getting right up to the lash line when I do that first coat. I'm just concentrating on setting them in the position that I want them to sit. That's why the second coat I can use for actual coverage. I'm only going to do 2 coats. If you find that your mascara is always getting on your eyelids when you're putting it on, try using a smaller wand. And this is a really good wand because not only is it small, you can manipulate it to a completely different shape. I think it's very, very hard to show you here, but it clicks to one for volume and one for length. It's got 2 settings on the bottom. So depending on what you want to do, but it doesn't really change the shape of the wand in terms of width very much. It just changes the bristles on the brush. And the tip of this wand is quite fine, so you can get into all those tiny little corners and get all those lashes. And I like separated lashes with a good bit of colour on them. This is the Sephora Cream Lip Stain, and this is in the colour 37. It's just a nice, cool purple, sort of light mauve pinky colour. Again, I'm going to use my Matte Fix Plus. It doesn't matter what you use. So I'm going to let that dry completely. While that dries, I'm going to put some lip gloss on. And that is all I have for today. So I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Please don't forget to follow or subscribe depending where you're watching. And I will see you again very soon. Okay, bye-bye.